Champ Bailey, part of all the coverage on the family of networks at Turner, back here on the Rich Eisen Show. So let's jump into it here, Champ. How are you and the rest of the crew going? Because obviously this is big. College football games are big. Not to get too deep into the business of it, but Turner and ESPN striking a deal for these two games, it's big business for everybody. But how are you going to handle the subject matter of James Madison and Tulane playing in games that a lot of people who are tuning in don't think they have any business being in, Champ?
Well, here's the thing, and I think we sit in a perfect spot as we're only doing post game. So understand we'll be reacting to what's happened, not predicting and making assumptions, right? So for us, I think we have a unique spot to speak on what's happened in the game immediately after the games. And, I was a little iffy about it at first. I'm like, why are we just doing post game? Well, I like it because it gives us sort of a some pregame insight before anybody else can speak on what's coming up next.
Yes, sir.
Right? The next round of playoffs. So here's James Madison and Tulane with a chance to silence all the critics, because I got to admit, I'm one of those people that say we need the 12 best. I said this long before they even qualified for a playoff spot. And I still believe that. Now they can go prove themselves as worthy of that spot. And they are, based off the criteria that exists. But I think ultimately we want to sort of have what the NFL has. The NFL always has the best of the best, right? There's never a question of, should this team make the playoffs or not? That's never in question. It's your record is your record. Everybody's schedule is hard. And until we really figure that part out, we're going to be in this place where we're trying to figure out who the best 12 are. And I don't like the criteria now, but it's acceptable as we progress towards what's really fair and balanced across the league.
Yeah, because again, I'm assuming you're doing post game after both of these games, right, Champ?
After the JMU game,
right?
The final game, the JMU Oregon game, we'll do post game.
Okay,
live on set.
Okay,
in Eugene.
So the issue again is you'll be able to have your first. You'll then be the crew to have the first crack at, did these teams deserve to be in or not, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm the coach of either of these teams, I am 100% playing the nobody believes in us card. I'd play it. Yeah. I'd play it as if it's every card in the 52 card deck that's in my hand now.
I would too. I don't blame them. If you look at the conferences they come from, there's no doubt that they're an inferior group of colleges.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that they can't win a game. It's possible, but it's unlikely. And just based off the strength of schedule and historically what's happened with these type of matchups. I mean, look at Tulane, for example. They lose 45-10 earlier to Ole Miss in the season. Now, it's a little tricky now because Lane Kiffin's gone. John Summerall, he's going to hang back before he goes to Florida and coach. And a lot of things going on, a lot of distractions. So this is a perfect climate for Tulane to sort of have an upset victory in a game like this. So I'm looking forward to that one more than anything.
So who's the best team in this tournament, do you believe? Is it your alma mater? Could it be Indiana? Because we saw what happened in the Big Ten championship game, and clearly, the Ohio State is outstanding, and last year lost their last Big Ten game, and it didn't matter. They won it all.
Yeah.
What do you think? Or is it somebody I didn't mention?
I do believe the Bulldogs are playing better than anybody right now. And, everything's clicking at the right time. You saw them progress throughout the year and get better and better week in, week out, especially on defense, which I believe is the thing that helps win championships more than anything. It's turnovers and defense. If you're not getting stops, you don't have a chance. Now, Indiana has proven, they knocked off the defending champs. But I'm a believer in some, it's hard to beat a team twice. So if they ever met up with Ohio State again, I don't think they could beat them again. Ohio State missed field goal here. Little things happen throughout that game. So I do feel like that was a very evenly matched team. But the top three teams, I believe, are Ohio State, Indiana, and Georgia. I do give Georgia the edge, and a little bias there, but at the same time, man, they've proven that they belong in this top four as they did the previous season. So, for what it's worth, man, we got to play the game, and I'm looking forward to it. But again, it's a toss up at this point on who can pull this out, because you can't sleep on Texas Tech, and the sleeper to me out of all this is Oregon. Oregon lost to the number one team in the country. So you can't fall asleep on them. They had no other losses, some decent wins, but ultimately they have the talent to win it all.
No,
I'd say about 6 teams can win it.
And you're not just saying that because you're going to go to Eugene as part of your
No,
television.
not at all.
And you want to be welcomed into places and where you're going to go eat. But and you just mentioned 6 teams. So then let's on the screen here. All the teams that are playing this coming weekend, which one outside of Oregon and the other 4 first-round byes do you think has the best chance to go on a run here and be a Cinderella, if you will?
Wow, I'm gonna say Texas A&M.
Okay.
And Marcel Reed is the real deal. So anybody who has a quarterback that's impressive like that, and they've been tested, you saw them come back and beat South Carolina. You can't overlook that. Like, I know South Carolina's had a sort of down season, but they're still a tough SEC opponent. And for them to come back and win the way they did, it kind of shows some resiliency there. So I can't look past them with a dynamic quarterback they have. I give them a chance to be that 6th team, to potentially win it.
Champ Bailey here on the Rich Eisen Show, college football playoff postgame show on TNT after the game in Eugene, Oregon, and after the first weekend of games of the college football playoffs are over. Everyone should catch it on TNT Sports and throughout the family of networks right here on the Rich Eisen Show. That picture behind you, what is that? What do we got behind you right there?
Oh, man, that was my last pro win, the AFC Championship. We went on to lose the Super Bowl, but we won't talk about that.
Understood.
But that's a picture of all my guys, us holding up the trophy, my last win in Mile High.
Well, I got to be honest with you. That scene may play out again in a couple of weeks. And speaking of Oregon, Bo Nix coming off the campus there in Eugene, 22 wins right now in his first 2 seasons that aren't even complete. What do you make of the current Denver Broncos?
And, obviously the defense gets a lot of the hype. Bo Nix does too. But it is a lot of great role players. When you look at their defense, I think the 2 stars, Nick Bonito and Pat Surtain, PS2 are they're the guys we talk about. But there's so many role players on that defense that are just
that's
balling.
On the screen right there, Champ. That interception last week is
game changer.
That's why he doesn't get much action. You know what I mean? Like that's why nobody throws his way. That's why.
And I was really surprised that he threw it the way he did. And I'm like, man, he's in perfect position. And a guy with his length, he can pick off any ball that you throw. If he can get to it, it's going to be a problem for the quarterback. So I was a little thrown off by that throw. But, if you're going to get it out there, Watson's a speed guy. Let him go run under it. And, unfortunately, that's not what he did. And it changed the game. And that put them on the path to win the game.
Yeah, and I'm a believer, that Denver could really do this. This is real, right?
Yeah, yeah, I do believe they have a shot. They haven't been perfect all year. Like they started some games slow, but again, I always go back to what people do in situations. When they gotta have it, do they rise to the occasion? And they've done that all year, so that can't be overlooked.
Let's talk about some of the Hall of Fame friends of yours that you played with, starting with Peyton Manning. What's your favorite Peyton Manning story?
Oh, my God. Oh, well, I won't put him on blast or anything like that, but, he's obviously a funny guy. I mean, I watch their Manning cast probably every week. Every time they're on, every time Monday night comes around, I'm probably going to watch their version instead of the original version of Monday night, only because I learned so much. And it's really, and it was no different when we played together. He walks into the locker room and, he's just a year ahead of me. So it's not like, this is a point where we're both double-digit years in our career. He lands on our team. And now I'm not the old guy anymore or the only old guy.
Hmm.
I have another proven leader to kind of, lean on, and he was nothing short of great, and I was fortunate enough to have that time my final years. And he was amazing to me. He was amazing to our team, and he obviously went on to win a Super Bowl a couple years after my retirement. So, man, the dude is a winner, and he wins and does great at everything he does. So it's kind of hard to throw him under the bus
Oh, I'm not
or
asking you to
give you
throw him under the
no,
bus.
or give you anything crazy, but he's one of a kind, and he is as advertised.
But I mean, the sheriff showing up, where Elway had left a void.
Oh yeah,
It couldn't have been more monumental. Obviously, you were there for Tebow time, and that ran
I
its
was,
course.
I was.
That ran its course, and then Elway's like, "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to get Peyton Manning, and we're going to have him finish his career here." That had to give a jolt to the locker room, and I just love the fact that you say that he taught you football, or taught you something
He's still
about
teaching
football.
me football. What
I
do you
love it.
mean?
Right, I love that. Yeah.
He's still teaching, and it's not. And it's funny. I don't know if he's even trying to teach. I just think he loves to talk about the game and gives insight that's invaluable. Like you can't get that anywhere else.
Yeah.
So the platform that he's had, I always tell kids, man, if you really want to learn about the game, like go watch the Manning cast, and you just pick up nuggets here and there. If you're paying attention, there's no doubt you're going to learn. So I'm always encouraging young people who are interested in taking it to the next level, man. Go learn about the nuances of the game. That gives you an edge. You have no idea when all this information pops up in moments that help you succeed in certain plays. It's a real thing. So soak up as much as you can.
Speaking of kids learning the game of football, pop up the photograph here. What about the kid in the middle
Oh,
there in 2000, in between Darrell Green and Deion Sanders in Washington? What about that kid, champ?
look, man. I'm on cloud nine right there. You gotta think. I grew up as my first game was watching the Redskins in the Super Bowl when I was 5 years old.
Mhm.
I think they were playing the Raiders, and that's my first memory of really paying attention. And just so happened Darrell Green was on that team. So fast forward to 1999, I get drafted, and he's still on the team. So I think that was his rookie year, I believe. But in and then Deion's Deion, right? I mean, you've worked with Deion, and you
Yes.
know the type of person he is. So imagine how he is to a guy like me, that's trying to walk his path and do the things that he's done. And then the nuggets he still gives me to this day. I look, man. I tell people all the time the best thing can happen to a young player is you fall into a locker room where you have veterans that care about you and pour into you. And I had two. My
Mm.
first 2 years, I had two of those guys that I looked up to. Already could have shut it down at that moment and been first ballot Hall of Famers. I mean, I couldn't have landed in a better situation at that time.
And now you're part of the same gallery forevermore in Canton, Ohio, champ.
And,
Uh,
and and I give them a lot of credit. They sort of laid the foundation for me, at
mm.
least gave me the blueprint. And I don't think people understand. Like I didn't really learn how to play corner until I got to Washington. Like, and it's not like I didn't know football. What I didn't know was the techniques that it took to succeed every play. And Darrell Green, totally different body type than me. He watched me just practice for a few weeks, and then we just started talking, and he just started giving me things. He was like, "Man, you should do this. This is what I do." And then I'm watching, I'm like, well, if I implement a lot of the footwork into my game, I have all this length. It's only gonna better complement what I do than it does him. He's a speed guy, right?
Hmm.
Smaller. He doesn't want to get in hand fights. I'm the total opposite. I want to hand fight. I want to, do all this stuff at the line of scrimmage. And now I incorporate great feet, and it took my game to the next level. And that was always my emphasis throughout my career. It was my hands are great, but my feet are better. And he would always say that. And man, I teach that to the day I die.
I love that. And, Darrell, sometimes will still challenge me to a 40-yard dash, and I want no piece of him.
No,
You know,
I don't either.
You know,
he's 20 years ahead of me, and I don't want any parts of him.
and then
still fast.
The one time I ran my 40-yard dash with Deion was when he was the character Leon Sandcastle from the NFL Network commercials, wearing the fake afro, and he ran the first 20 yards with me running backwards.
Oh my
stride
God.
for stride. And I remember thinking to myself, because I'm running so hard, because of the two people I want to look at my 40-yard dash and be proud of it the most are my wife, and the other one is Deion. Because I just didn't want to let him down. And all I could think as I'm running that, I'm like, Deion's running backwards with me, stride for stride. What is up? And with a fake lid. Like, what is going on? You know?
Well, for what it's worth, Rich, he is a world-class sprinter.
Thank you, sir. That's true.
You know, he's a pro. He's a pro at it, and you know he's not going to lace him up unless he can get the win. So he went in knowing what the results would be before it even happened.
That's true. That's absolutely true. Hey, Champ, it's always great to see you. Always great to catch up with you. Great to see you doing your thing on TV, and I appreciate you coming on the show here and chopping it up. Have a great weekend in Oregon.
Hey, man, keep being you, man. You're the best.
Thank you. Right back at you. That's Champ Bailey, everybody. Catch the College Football Playoff post-game show with Adam Lefko hosting and Takeo Spikes and Victor Cruz with this man, Champ Bailey, on TNT Sports this weekend. And he will have the first word of the next round of the College Football Playoffs right here on The Rich Eisen Show.